The honourable member for Ottawa South.
Well, good evening, Madam Speaker, and good evening to colleagues and viewers who are perhaps tuning in on this important debate. You know, Madam Speaker, after almost 18 years in the House, sometimes there are moments where the House truly comes together. Sometimes there are moments where Parliament can showcase its ability to come together, overcome partisanship, pursue something that I believe that all of us here find to be good and fine and worthy of pursuing, and something which is timely. I'm very proud of the fact that I was lucky enough to obtain an early opportunity in a random draw, Madam Speaker, to, in this Parliament, help bring us together through this bill. At a time when there are powerful forces in this House and in Canadian society seeking to pull us apart, we all know there are many of those forces. I'm hoping this bill can serve as a force which pulls us together, because it is as sure as day follows night, Madam Speaker, that we need that in Canada today.
I'd like to thank my colleague from the Bloc Québécois who talked about the history in Quebec and Canada's context, talking about immigration from North Africa, student mobility, and other factors in Quebec society. Thank you.
My colleague from the NDP, the member from Windsor, who talked about how we were harmonizing hopefully our April Arab Heritage Month here in Canada with the one which was decreed by President Biden in the United States. And he went on to explain the involvement of the Arab Canadian population in the auto sector on both sides of the border. He recounted the geographical diaspora and the religious diversity of Arab Canadians, all of which, of course, is also true. I'd like to thank the member for Scarborough Centre, who represents a large and proud Arab community, who spoke about trades and professions and restaurants and butchers and grocers, and highlighted the contributions of Syrian refugees, who are so incredibly proud to have reached our shores and become Canadians. I'd like to thank my colleague, the MP from Saskatoon West, who spoke honestly and earnestly about the personalities and the warmth of Arab Canadians in his own constituency and his province. And most importantly, he debunked perceptions of Arab Canadians saying the bill can, quote, shine a light on the dark spaces, close quote. That's an important quote, Madam Speaker, because the Arab Canadian community is dealing with racism. It is dealing with anti-Arab sentiment. And we will have to wrestle this to the ground together. He spoke about the historical truths, the learning, the hospitals, the inventions, a clock, all of which was devised by Arab human beings. I'd like to thank my colleague, the Deputy House Leader, for highlighting the breadth of contributions in every sector in Winnipeg and Manitoba. He talked about more educational opportunities, Madam Speaker, to break down barriers, to foster understanding at a time when we really need it. We really need it in this country. We need to come together because, as my mother used to say to her 10 children, Madam Speaker, this country is wealthy beyond belief. And my mother, who grew up in abject poverty, never was talking about money. She was talking about culture, dance types, food, language, music, literature, dress, traditions, depth, richness. All of this is reflected in the bill. We're trying to recognize this wealth in the Arab Canadian community, celebrate all of this in the Arab Canadian community, nurture the talent and passion of Arab Canadians, and finally deploy Arab Canadians on behalf of this country and the rest of the world as we help to continue to build the finest, the most inclusive, the most accepting and celebrating culture and country in the world. It is high time to move beyond, Madam Speaker, the notion of tolerating anyone. It is now entirely a question of celebrating each other, and that is what this bill is trying to do. And I'm very proud, in closing, Madam Speaker, to have the support of 35 Canadian community groups and organizations. And I'm very hopeful that with the support of all the House, we'll be able to achieve this on behalf of our Arab Canadian neighbours. Thank you, Madam Speaker.